Hey, before I get started today's video, just want to mention a couple things. And the main thing is, for one, I really only get these like big numbers of subscribers on my videos when I make the thing at the beginning of the video saying, hey, you should subscribe. So I know there's people who don't like it, and if you are already subscribed or you just don't like it, just skip over it. It's really not that hard. And I just, it makes these videos perform so much better. And the reason I'm saying this is because in 2022, 2026, I want to have my own. I want to be able to do my like live streams with like 2,000 people. You know how cool that would be? And I'm on pace to be able to do that if people keep subscribing. And I keep saying that because you see 95% of the people on this video that did very well still didn't subscribe. So that's important because that means 95% of the people that clicked on that video and even more who liked that video, who clearly enjoyed the content because they liked the actual thing and they commented on it but didn't subscribe, they're probably never going to see these videos again. So I just wanted to mention that because I like interacting with every one of you, and I'm really looking forward to like doing a big live stream for the midterms or the 2025 governor elections. Those should be really fun. I would love to have a little audience to do those live elections with. Those are so fun for me to do. I did that in 2021 with like the Georgia Senate races, but there was like 3 people on it. So, but yeah, thanks for subscribing if you did. I got every state right in 2020, so you're welcome to see. You're welcome to wait and see how well I do this year. It's gonna be. I'm not nearly as confident as I am this as I was in 2020. So, but thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this video. It really helps out and helps me achieve my hopeful audience of 2026 for that big live stream that I wanted to do. So thank you. Goodbye. Hello, welcome back to a video. Today's October 21st, 2024. We're getting really close to Election Day. If you're new to this channel, I got every state right in 2020's presidential election. If you're curious about that process, you can go to the description, and that's the first link I have because it's probably one of the most interesting things. And even if I do not get every state right in this election, even if I get the winner wrong, which I'm starting to feel like I might, I'm still going to pride myself on that 2020 thing. So, hopefully I can do this 2 times in a row. But this is obviously a really special election. There's so much stuff that hasn't happened either in a long time or has never happened. I mean, dropping out in July, like, what am I supposed to do with that? I had Trump winning. I felt pretty confident about my map, and now I'm not confident at all. So it's going to be pretty interesting. But first, I want to do something, and it looks like that's not a thing anymore. I thought what I could do was go to the Halloween version of this, but I guess they took it out. I'm sorry. I thought that was gone. I guess I could do... Yeah, no, I sorry about that. I thought I could do that. But yeah, I'm going to go through my safe Democrat states first. Washington. By the way, the safe means 15 points or more of a win if you're new. So 60 points. 60% of Washington to 40% of Washington. So if Harris wins Washington by 20%, that would be a safe Democratic win. I'm also going to give Oregon safe Democrat, California safe Democrat. I'm also going to give Colorado safe Democrat, Illinois, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland. And based off these early numbers, throughout election season, I've been pretty optimistic about New Jersey being likely. But I'm going to put it as safe. The turnout numbers look pretty good for Democrats. And considering 41% of Democrats still want to come out on Election Day, as of the last thing I've seen, I should probably look into see and if there's any updates on that. But as of right now, if 41% of Dems come out on Election Day and they're still doing this good on the early voting turnout, they will win this election. But obviously, polls don't look that good for Democrats right now. Polls have taken a quick shift to Donald Trump by like 4 or 5% over the last 2 weeks. Now, the reason I'm pretty pessimistic about that is a lot of those polls are Atlas Intel, which is garbage. I know it was technically the closest to the popular vote in 2020, but they got almost every state call in swing states wrong. They gave Florida to Joe Biden, but they gave Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania to Donald Trump. How do you get that much wrong? Trafalgar Group has also been polling the national popular vote, giving Trump a 3-point advantage. They gave Donald Trump a 2-point win in Pennsylvania in 2020, and they gave Dr. Oz a win in Pennsylvania in 2022. Like, Trafalgar Group state calls is not accurate, and if they have Donald Trump winning by less than 4% on election day, I think there's a decent argument you could make that Harris is up in Pennsylvania, especially with these turnout numbers. But I'm going to go through the safe Republican states next: North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Utah, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia. Nebraska's 3rd district. Nebraska's at large, probably. So these are the safe things. Obviously, Democrats have a lot more safe areas, but you could make the argument that New Jersey's likely. You could make the argument that Colorado, Oregon, and Delaware are also going to be under 15-point margins, and probably one of those will be under a 15-point margin. But as of right now, I do think that, Colorado being one of the only states that is consistently solid for Democrats in registration numbers, despite Republicans gaining nationwide in almost every state, I think Colorado is pretty safe to say that Harris should win there by like 16 or 17 points. Maybe more. Probably not 20. Probably won't be a 20-point win until like 2032 or something like that. But if you're a Republican, you're wondering, wow, Kansas likely, that's only because of the shifts and how we saw numbers in from 2016 to 2022 shift for Jerry Moran, the senator, and really how Kansas was also a likely state in 2020. It was not a safe state. And it was also tied for the fastest blue shifting red state in the country, tied with Nebraska, which is also why I'm putting Nebraska's first, which shifted left in the redrawing of it, and was already also a likely district in 2020. That's why I'm giving that a likely column as well. South Carolina, if Donald Trump's going to win anything else here by over 15 points, I would say it would be South Carolina. That would definitely. I think he's more likely to win South Carolina by a safe margin than he is Kansas or Nebraska's 1st district. Now, if he does win Kansas by a safe margin, I expect him to win South Carolina by a safe margin as well. But I am going to give him a 14-point win in South Carolina. There doesn't appear to be any major shifts or registration changes in South Carolina that lead me to believe Democrats are shoring up in South Carolina. It's going to be competitive. The closest it's been is 8 points, and that was in 2008. Closest it's been in a while is what I mean. Even Bill Clinton couldn't carry South Carolina. So I have no issues giving South Carolina to Donald Trump by a likely to safe margin pretty consistently. I'm giving Florida a likely margin. I'm going to give it to Donald Trump by 7.4%. There's no basis on that exact amount, but there is obviously plenty of basis on Democrats losing Florida. And I know that, since I've had Kamala winning most of my last predictions, most of my comments, 2/3 of them, have been Republicans complaining, he's definitely going to win Pennsylvania. And you could absolutely make that argument, and you'll see how close I'm going to have it in Pennsylvania when I get to it. And I still have Donald Trump winning swing states, obviously. So, obviously, I'm trying not to be biased here. I want to get as many states right as possible. I want to get as close to the actual result as I possibly can. So I'm going to give Florida a likely margin for Donald Trump, and I feel like that's not really that far-fetched. You look at the early voting numbers, Democrats are barely up in early voting in Florida, and obviously they're going to get their asses handed to them on election day in Florida as well. It's not going to be that 41% that they're getting in some of these other places. So I think as a Democrat, your best scenario is Donald Trump winning Florida by less than 5%. That's really as best as you can hope for. But he's absolutely going to win it by at least the amount that he did in 2020. I have there's no actual reason to believe that Donald Trump's going to do worse in Florida than he did in 2020. Unlike Texas, where there is a reason that he could do a point or two worse. Turnout looks great in Texas. Early voting started today, so obviously I'm going off of what I've seen for turnout wise, but I do think there's going to be the hatred factor on Ted Cruz that is absolutely bringing out votes against Donald Trump as well. If you go online for 2 seconds and you can tell that there's some sort of vibe in Texas that I'm getting right now that Texas is going to be a 3 or 4 point win for Donald Trump. And obviously that sounds pretty stupid if you're going to an election prediction channel and he's going like, "Oh, look at the vibes though." There really isn't much more to go off of. Obviously Donald Trump's going to win Texas, so it's really going to are you really going to argue with me about how much he's going to win it by? It's obviously a blue shifting state. There's almost no way you could argue that Donald Trump's going to win Texas by more than 8%. If he does, then and you predicted that, good call, I guess. But I think by 2032, it's gonna be one of the states to look at. Like obviously, no one thinks Kamala Harris is gonna win. No one actually genuinely believes Harris has like a really really good shot at Texas, unless they're going based purely off of turnout, and obviously that makes sense. But I think even with the best case scenario, Harris still loses Texas by 1.2%. There was a lot of voter rolls purged. And no, it was not illegal voters that were purged. It was barely any illegal voters that were purged because, like I said in the past, there is almost no actual existing issue with illegals voting that doesn't exist. They mostly just removed inactive voters, which is what they did in Oklahoma as well. Inactive voter, that's so stupid. Come on. I don't know, it's a pretty stupid thing to me. I'm also going to give Iowa and Ohio likely wins for Donald Trump. So, in Alaska as well, pretty obviously Alaska's going to go to Donald Trump. But Alaska, I'm not going to argue, I'm not going to bring up anything about Ohio and Iowa. Donald Trump is definitely winning those two states by at least the amounts that he did in 2020 as well. Maybe he could do a point worse in Ohio, but he's still going to win it by at least 7, in my opinion. Ohio, I just say because they might have capped out their red shift in Ohio. But I don't think the blue shifts in Cincinnati, the only part of Ohio that's shifting blue, I don't think that's going to be enough for Democrats to shift it to a lean thing. They really just got to hope for that turnout for Sherrod Brown, because if they lose Ohio's Senate race, they're kind of screwed. Honestly, for Democrats, best case scenario, Allred wins Texas, Osborne wins Nebraska, and they have a 50 to 49 to 1 advantage. That's kind of their best case scenario. Their more realistic best case scenario as of right now is they still lose Montana, West Virginia, but they barely hold on in Ohio, and Osborne wins Nebraska, and they somehow get Osborne to caucus for 6 years. But obviously, I don't think he will do that. I don't think Osborne. I think Osborne is closer to being a Republican than he is a Democrat. As I'm a Democrat saying that, so I think it's. I mean, I've gone to his website. I know what he believes in, and it's not the Democratic values. So, likely Democrat states: Minnesota, New Mexico, New Hampshire, and Maine. You're probably pissed if you're a Democrat, and I didn't just put in Virginia. But the early turnout numbers in Virginia, while nice, they aren't as good as you want to see. And I do think like I said earlier, that voter turnout on election day will be better for Democrats than it was in 2020. They're obviously still underperforming their early voting numbers, so it kind of just evens out with Virginia. And I still think Virginia is going to be like a 6-point win, 5-point win for Kamala Harris. But that is concerning if she's going to half Biden's margin in Virginia, and Trump will double his margin of winning in Florida and flip several swing states. That is not good for Democrats, and they should be terrified if Virginia's going to be within 5 points, because I mean, I would be. I am. Sorry for the coughing. I can't really edit that out. I mean, I can. I just won't deal with it, I guess. I think I'm gonna move Minnesota to lean this time. I'm talking 6.2%. I think it's gonna look better when I move all these Rust Belt states to tilt, because it's gonna be weird if Minnesota's 2 above them. I don't think Minnesota's that much more Democrat than Michigan or Wisconsin. I think it's just a little bit more. So Minnesota could be closer than we think it is. But obviously these statewide Senate races, Democrats are turning out for, and Republicans are turning out for people like Slotkin, which is why I'm giving Michigan. It's not the only reason I'm giving Michigan to Harris. The reason I'm giving Michigan to Harris is because it's one of the only swing states that Harris is trusted more on economy than Donald Trump is, which I think is actually crazy. I think that she should be trusted more in every single state on the economy, but I just think it's interesting when you look at the media, what they're pushing out, all and what you see online, and you think that Harris is down 30 points. But no, people aren't that stupid. Harris is probably going to win in Michigan and Wisconsin. I'm also going to give her Wisconsin because it's also the only other swing state. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada are the only three battleground states that trust Democrats more in the economy. And I think Wisconsin's probably more for on Donald Trump on that now than it was before. But yeah, I'm giving Donald Trump a lean win in Maine's 2nd district. I don't really feel like I need to explain that. I'm giving Harris a likely win in Nebraska's 2nd district. Again, I feel like that's really kind of hard to explain for single districts. When I get to my House predictions, I'll go into the districts more. But obviously, they are both battleground districts this year, so turnout will be high, especially considering the presidential race on top of the House races. So yeah. So then you look at this like, oh wow, Donald Trump is kind of screwed. If Harris wins Pennsylvania here, she doesn't even need Nevada. Or if Harris wins Nevada and Georgia, or Nevada and North Carolina, she doesn't need Pennsylvania or Arizona. So if you're a Democrat, you would feel pretty comfortable knowing that Harris wins Wisconsin and Michigan here. And I agree with you. You should be comfortable if you see this map. I am going to give... I've seen some ridiculous predictions that have North Carolina as blue still, and it was different in August when she had that boost and she was doing pretty good, and I think she's closer to that than what the polls are actually showing. I still think North Carolina is going to vote red this year, probably by like the same amount that it did in 2020, which if you're a Democrat you should be happy about that, considering that your numbers in the South didn't get that much worse despite black voters turning against Democrats by like another 5 or 8% from 2020. That shows that Harris is doing better with white voters. Surprisingly, she actually is doing better with white voters than Biden was, at least in several national polls, which I find extremely interesting and actually pretty fun. So she was at 46% with white voters, and she's winning white women voters. That's crazy to me. The fact she's winning with white voters, not winning white voters, but she's within 10 points on white voters means that she would probably win the election, especially if you go and it would probably overdo the black turnout in Georgia. She would probably win Arizona if she actually had 46% of the white vote. Obviously, I don't think she's going to have 46% of the white vote because I would have already marked some of those states off. I'm giving Donald Trump Arizona, and that is my indicator that I don't think that he is up. That he's doing that bad with white voters. But the fact that he's doing worse with white women voters, that would probably lose him Arizona if he continues going on the path of Harris just doing better and better with white women voters. And the fact that they're just neglecting them at this point and going for... Oddly enough, I don't know why Republicans are trying to target black voters, even though they're such a small portion of the electorate. I mean... In the swing states, that makes sense if you look at it on that level, because you see Atlanta, you see Milwaukee, or Milwaukee that black? I don't really know. Okay, Detroit, Philly, and Atlanta. If Donald Trump increases by even 5% in any of those cities from 2020, he's probably going to win those states that he did better in those cities in. So I'm also going to give Donald Trump Georgia. Interesting polls today. Lead me to believe that Harris might be losing Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, but winning Arizona and Georgia. I'm probably not going to eventually go with that prediction. I think I'm going to go with the Rust Belt prediction based on the 2022 midterms. I think it's not that far-fetched that Harris still turns out to win. Dr. Oz was obviously supposed to lose Pennsylvania, or was supposed to win Pennsylvania according to the polls, even in 538. Harris is doing better than that right now. Trafalgar Group is having the same numbers they were having Oz at. Like, I think Harris winning by 2 to 3% in Pennsylvania is absolutely a possibility. And if Trump wins Pennsylvania, I think his ceiling in Pennsylvania is way worse than Harris's ceiling. I think that if Trump wins any of these three Rust Belt states, he's more likely to win Wisconsin. And he would still win the election. I am also giving... I'm going to go over Nevada pretty quickly. I'm giving Nevada a lean Democrat. And I'm just doing that quickly so I can show that even if Harris loses one of these Rust Belt states, she needs to carry either Arizona, Georgia, or North Carolina. It doesn't matter if she wins Pennsylvania and Michigan if she loses Wisconsin. She needs all of these states, and if she's actually doing better with the white voters, as she's supposed to be doing, according to what we've seen, then she should win Wisconsin as of right now. Now, in the past, I've had Wisconsin as lean, Michigan as lean, but I am putting both down to tilt. This is going to be one of the closest elections in our lifetimes, and, you know, as someone who's consistently done better than all the other election YouTubers, Let's Talk Elections, Red Lion Politics, Red Eagle Politics, what's the election? Some guy actually just has elections in his name. I forgot what it was. What was it? Tools, theme. Their logos were on here. I was just gonna look at their logos so I could check it out, but it might not be here anymore. But yeah, I'm just saying that I sorry. Oh my gosh, I was doing so good on this video and then I start to stutter here. Okay, sorry. If you've listened to my individual reasonings, you should probably tell why this is my prediction. Obviously, Harris is doing worse with minority voters than she's supposed to be doing, and she's doing better with white voters than she's supposed to be doing as well. But she's doing worse with union voters than she's supposed to be doing. So I don't really know. It looks like she is going to carry these Rust Belt states. When you look at the actual turnout numbers, especially in Pennsylvania, where Democrats are returning their ballots at a way higher level than they are requesting them, when you compare it to Republicans. If Republicans who are getting their ballots back in Pennsylvania through the mail, if they weren't actually turning them in, Republicans, I would say, are winning Pennsylvania right now. But they are not turning out. They're not turning in their mail-in ballots that they themselves requested. So if that at all is showing anything for this election, that shows that Republicans are not going to turn out at these higher levels. At these levels that white women that support Democrats are going to be coming out in Pennsylvania. Sorry, that was all over the place. The end of that there, which is I'm sure a lot of people just skip to. So everyone's going to hear the absolute worst of it. I advise you to go back to the beginning if you skip to that, because that made no sense what I was just saying. But I think white women turn out. You know, Harris is winning white women as of right now by a better margin than Biden was. And that's going to come out to be really important in Wisconsin and Arizona, the two really white swing states that are left. So, obviously, if she wins Arizona, then she could probably get away with losing Michigan, doing worse with the black voters there. This would be a really weird map if she manages to win Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and lose Michigan, but that is absolutely possible. So, again, if you're a Democrat, keep your eyes peeled at the white women voters in the exit polls. Compare it throughout election night. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I want to be doing like these midterm predictions live in the future. I like having this audience. It's so fun to interact with you guys in the morning and whenever I upload these videos. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys probably in like 2 or 3 days. Goodbye.